Fatal Frame is an elevated survival horror video game that was first released for the PlayStation 2 in Japan at the end of 2001. The plot for the game surrounds a woman named Miku searching for her missing brother inside of the haunted Himiro Mansion, which was said to be built on a portal to hell or the underworld. The mansion's original residents used ritualistic sacrifices to keep the portal to hell from overflowing into the land of the living. One ritual included gouging out a woman's eyes, who would then participate in a game of tag with female children. The last female child to be tagged would be used in a strangling ritual 10 years later, which included tying the young woman's limbs to cranks or oxen. She would then be ripped apart, limb from limb, and the bloody ropes would then be used to keep the portal to hell closed. This would take place every so many years until one strangling ritual failed, causing one of the Himuro family members to be driven mad and kill everyone he saw inside of the mansion. Others were killed by the demonic spirits who crossed over from the underworld. Another family who attempted to live there after the massacre disappeared completely. People who tried to visit the mansion or its surrounding region would end up going missing, or sometimes their bodies would be found with all of their limbs torn off, just like they did to the women used in the strangling rituals. The game was released to Western territories in 2002, branded with the phrase, "based on a true story." According to the game's director and producer, Makoto Shibata, the game was inspired by two Japanese urban legends from the northeastern mountain regions of Japan. The main plot that concerns Himiro Mansion, according to Shibata, is said to come from a legend that goes, in an area outside of Tokyo, there lies a mansion in which it's said 7 people were murdered in a grisly manner. On the same property, there lies 3 detached residences that surround the mansion, all of which are rumored to have ties to the mansion's troubled past. It's said that there is an underground network of tunnels that lay beneath the premises, but nobody knows who made these tunnels or what purpose they served. Many inexplicable phenomena have been reported occurring on the property. Bloody handprints have been found splattered all over the walls. Spirits have been spotted on the premises even in broad daylight. A narrow stairway leads to an attic where a spirit-sealed talisman is rumored to be locked away. People who seek out the mansion have been later found with their bodies broken and rope marks around their wrists. There's a crumbling old statue of a woman in a kimono, but its head is missing. If you take a photo of a certain window, a young girl can be seen in the developed picture. These incidents have provoked fear in the people of Tokyo, and many believe that those who live near this area will become cursed. The deaths of those 7 people are still unexplained to this day. Another legend that inspired a smaller plot in the game goes as follows. In the same region, there is a tree that is said to cry like a young woman. Many traffic accidents have occurred near this tree, and there have been many accounts of people seeing a young woman's ghost. 2 lovers used to meet at this tree every night. Although they loved each other very much, they were not allowed to see each other because of the differences in social standings. The young girl couldn't stand the pain, so she hung herself from the tree. Ever since then, it's said that the tree weeps in sorrow. One day, a young man chopped down the tree, hoping that he could rid the area of the ghost and his cursed past. The youth shared the firewood from the tree with other families in the area. Since then, those people are reported to have died with no medical explanation as to why. The young man who chopped down the tree has also disappeared without a trace. Since Fatal Frame was originally released in 2001, it has since spawned several sequels and even some spin-offs. Its 20th anniversary was celebrated with a Japan-only release of an arcade casino type of game known as a pachinko machine. Over the past few years, the series has seen somewhat of a renaissance, with many of the older games getting re-released or remastered. So where does the truth lie? Does Himiro Mansion actually exist? Firstly, we should examine the legend about the crying tree, which is said to have inspired a smaller plot in the Fatal Frame game. This is clearly referring to the tree which Yai Kurosawa hanged herself from. Not much else from the legend appears to pertain to Fatal Frame's plot, except for maybe the part about entire families disappearing who used the wood from the tree after the tragedy. After the massacre that occurred in Fatal Frame's main plot, a family who moved in afterwards went missing as well, and nobody was able to live at the mansion since. The phenomenon of possessed trees is indeed part of real-life Japanese folklore. Throughout the Fatal Frame game, we encounter many influences of Shintoism, which is Japan's oldest and most popular religion. It's a polytheistic religion with many deities. There is no single creator, specific laws, or teachings. It more so focuses on everyday routines and perspectives, specifically worshiping the dead, paying respect to dead loved ones, and distinguishing the living from the spirit realm. Oftentimes, in Shintoism, the dead are feared, and the spirit realm is viewed in a much darker manner. Shintoism eventually became infused with Buddhism, which came over from China. However, Fatal Frame seems to focus on the darker and ancient aspects of Shintoism, with light Buddhist influences. Shintoism is characterized by many of the iconic shrines seen throughout Japan and the Fatal Frame game. Shintoism also emphasizes that everything has a soul, including trees. Kodama are said to be spirits that dwell in trees. Yamabiko is said to be the echoing effect that takes place in mountains and valleys, and its cause is sometimes attributed to the Kodama spirits within the trees. Sounds made by the trees throughout the forests were also sometimes interpreted as the deaths of Kodamas within the trees, or a warning of an upcoming tragedy. Kodama reside in trees of the oldest forests and are sometimes said to manifest as wisps, balls of light, and fairy-like creatures are also sometimes said to be held within them. Kodama are also able to move around the mountains and forests in human, animal, and light forms. The belief in Kodama is so prominent throughout Japan that it even developed a unique woodcutting technique known as daisugi. With this technique, woodcutters would only trim off the larger branches of a tree, allowing the tree to continue to grow new ones, without cutting down the tree and killing it completely. It's also beneficial to the tree, as its new branches grow in stronger, thicker, and produce better lumber. The religious influence of Kodama has helped Japan become known for and maintain its beautiful forests. Talking trees, wisps, and forest fairies have even made their way into various forms of media, such as video games, movies, and anime. Early woodcutters in Japan were also very careful about which trees they would cut down, even going so far as to make an incision at the base of the tree to see if it bleeds. If the tree bled, it'd be considered a Kodama tree and would not be cut down. This bleeding phenomenon could be explained by sap, resin, or pitch found in trees. While Kodama spirits could sometimes protect the forest and villages around them, they also have been associated with things much darker. Cutting down a tree containing a Kodama would result in the woodcutter becoming cursed. Some trees believing to house Kodama are marked with a ceremonial rope across them in Japan territories, also known as Shimenawa rope. Now that we've explored the real-life influences of the Weeping Tree legend, we move on to the heart of the plot for Fatal Frame, Himiro Mansion. Firstly, the location of Himiro Mansion is non-specific. It is said to be located in the Mutsu region of Japan, outside of Tokyo. The Mutsu province of Japan was established in the year 654. It was disestablished in 1869 when it was divided into 5 provinces after the Boshin War. These are the provinces of Iwashiro, Iwaki, Rikuzen, Rikushu, and Rikuo. They make up some of Japan's oldest communities. Since Fatal Frame was released, the based on a true storyline has generated a bunch of internet buzz from people trying to figure out the origins of the story, other people claiming to have actually found the mansion, and others claiming to be relatives of the Himuro family. Along with its vague location, the name Himuro is also extremely common in Japan. There are dozens of locations with the same name, in fact. The name translates out to ice room, which may refer to the cold spots that are often said to be felt when a spirit is nearby. Some have theorized that the nondescriptive language used was done purposefully to protect the privacy of the mansion and prevent people from going there. But this seems unlikely. Reported real-life photos of the mansion are also very much in line with common Japanese architecture. According to the in-game lore, the massacre took place in 1837. The player turns up at the mansion after 1986. It seems highly unlikely that any massacre would go unrecorded, even in the 1800s. In the Fatal Frame game, the sacrifices used by the mansion were chosen by a game called Demon Tag. The It person, also known as the Blinded Maiden or the Demon, would have their eyes gouged out by a blinding mask. They would then have to find other female children in an enclosed area. This game was called Demon Tag. Demon Tag is also the name of Night 2 in the Fatal Frame game, or the second part of the game. On this night, Miku also has to solve a puzzle by choosing the correct doll. A song plays during the puzzle, and then Miku must correctly choose the doll that is, quote, in front of the back. These all have similarities to the real-life Japanese children's game Kagome Kagome. The way it works is one player is chosen to be it. They are referred to as the demon. The other players join hands in a circle around the demon and sing a song with the following lyrics. Kagome Kagome Kago no naka no tori wa itsu itsu de yaru yoake no ban ni tsuru to kame ga sureta ushiro no shounen gare. When the song ends, the players in the circle stop, and the demon must try to correctly guess the name of the player standing behind them. The phrase Kagome Kagome was actually first discovered in documents from the Edo period, around the year 1800. Interestingly, this is the same time period when the massacre in Fatal Frame takes place. Kagome Kagome shares many similarities with the games of Tag and Ring Around the Rosie, which are prevalent in Western territories. The phrase Kagome Kagome can be translated out to circle you, circle you. Some of the theories surrounding the origins of Kagome Kagome are even darker than the Fatal Frame games could ever be. The theory goes that Nazis used to conduct experiments on children in Japan. Japan was an ally of Germany during World War II, when Germany was under Nazi reign. They conducted experiments on children from an orphanage in Japan's Shimane prefecture. One specific experiment was to try and find ways to make someone immortal. Failed experiments led to many deaths of the children in the orphanage, who would then be buried in unmarked graves surrounding the orphanage, and nobody was ever notified about their death. Some children in the orphanage survived the experiments and were said to have been revived after dying. The surviving children seemed to have a secret amongst each other. While together, the children would seem happy and tranquil. However, when they were with the doctors or caretakers at the orphanage, they would chant the phrase Kagome Kagome, and their expressions would twist into pure hatred and horror. It seemed to become some sort of game. Eventually, the experiments and research were shut down, the orphanage was abandoned, and the children were never accounted for. A former caretaker at the orphanage reported that on his final day working there, the children approached him and asked him to play Kagome Kagome with them. But the faces they made while asking him were so terrifying that the caretaker fled the orphanage and never came back. Nowadays, local fear the building that was once the orphanage. They don't venture anywhere near it or in the surrounding woods. Legend has it that the children from the orphanage who were made immortal still live inside of the building, covered in surgical scars from the experiments. Visitors who were brave enough to set foot on the ground claim they were asked by the children to play Kagome Kagome with expressions on their faces that weren't human. Some visitors have reportedly gone missing and never been found when they lost the game. Simpler theories about the Kagome Kagome also exist. One theory claims that the song used in the game is about a prostitute. She is the bird in the cage that's referred to in the song. The surrounding players represent all of the people she slept with. Who is behind you refers to the next person in line to sleep with the prostitute. The forced prostitute wonders when she will be able to escape, as referenced in the lyrics, "When, oh when will it escape?" referring to the bird. Another theory goes that the song is about a pregnant woman. Someone pushes her down a flight of stairs, causing her to miscarry, and she wonders who killed her child. The falling is referenced in the lyrics, "The turtle and the crane have slipped." The person who pushed her is referenced in the lyrics, "Who is behind you now?" The final common theory about the origins of the song used in the game claim it's about a convict who is about to be executed. The cage represents a prison cell, and the bird represents the prisoner. The turtle and crane have slipped somehow refers to the ending of life and fortune. Lastly, the lyrics, "Who is behind you now?" refers to the prisoner wondering who his executioner is, or possibly his decapitated head staring back at his body.
Kagome Kagome Kago no naka no tori wa itsu itsu de yaru Yoake no ban ni tsuru to kame ga sureta Ushiro no shounen dare.
To sum it all up, Fatal Frame is inspired by real-life religions and Japanese customs, but it doesn't appear Himiro Mansion actually exists, nor did any strangling ritual that involved tearing the limbs off of a young woman with ropes tied to cranks or oxen. It should also be noted that the based on a true storyline was only ever used in the English translations of the game and never appeared in the original Japanese version, where horror has always been a more famous genre. The director of the games, Makoto Shibata, has also never commented further about the specific urban legends that inspired the first game. Future installments of the series have also strayed away from being associated with any real-life places, people, or events, although Makoto Shibata does claim to have experienced a lot of paranormal activity himself. It is possible that there are small kernels of truth in many aspects of the game. However, the line "based on a true story" doesn't have to specify how deep the truth actually goes. It could be as simple as a folktale passed down to him by his colleagues or loved ones. Abandoned shrines, buildings with the name Himiro, and unsubstantiated folklore are in no short supply in Japan. So no, you can be almost certain that no actual Himiro Mansion or strangling ritual as detailed in the games ever existed. For more Fatal Frame lore videos, please visit my channel.